While I'm not a huge fan of Eclipse for UIL programming, I have had enough teams show up at competitions using Eclipse that I thought about recording this video showing how to set up Eclipse for the competition, and then also how to go ahead and do the DryRun program. If you don't use Eclipse, you can fast forward a little bit here if you're curious about how to do the DryRun. Same basic idea, what your IDE is. The beginning part here will be just getting Eclipse, kind of getting a project created, and then getting the DAT files in the right folder. All right, so here I am in Eclipse. Keep in mind I'm running Linux on my laptop here, so yours may look slightly different, but it should be the same basic appearance. What I recommend doing is at the beginning of any competition, you just create a project for that competition. So we just finished our Invitational B. Those are going to be the DAT files that I'm going to load. So I'm going to go ahead and just create this project and call it Invitational B 2020. Notice that it puts it in that my Eclipse workspace folder. That's going to maybe come up later. Like when I want to submit programs using PC Squared, this is the folder I'm going to go to as my home folder. Then my Eclipse workspace, and beside that you'll see an SRC folder standing for source. I'm just going to click finish now. Okay. Now more than likely over here you'll actually see a window showing up on, I'm not sure, here in probably we'll see something like this, the package explorer. And you'll see that you now have this Invitational B 2020. You have this SRC folder. Now, in this Invitational B 2020, this is where your DAT files have to go. So you're going to want to open up your File Explorer. If you're in Windows, just as your whatever Windows Explorer. Like I say, I'm on Linux, so mine looks a little bit different. But you should have your DAT files downloaded to your computer. And basically all you want to do is you want to get all of your DAT files. You want to copy them or just drag them into this Invitational B folder, the top level, not the source folder, the Invitational B folder. And you want to copy the files. Okay. And now I can see these, and notice again, they're not inside of the source folder. They're at like the same level as the source folder. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my Invitational B. I'm going to right click. I'm going to go to new, and I want a new class. This is how you're going to do all of the problems throughout the competition. You're going to set up a class for each of the problems. Class. It asks me, what do I want to name the class? Remember, in Java, everything is case sensitive. So the name for the DryRun program, DryRun with a capital D, capital R. So it's DryRun. I'm going to go ahead and have it create my main method. I don't need anything else here, so I'm just going to click finish. Notice I don't have to put in my package. I don't do anything like that. I'm just going to click finish. Okay. And now I've got dryrun.java. Now, when it comes time to submit through PC Squared, this is the file you're going to submit, not the class file, not a jar. Just you're going to submit this whatever class name .java file. Okay, it's very important. You need to know where that is. It's going to be in your, if I go back to my File Explorer here for just a moment. I go to my home folder. I've got this Eclipse workspace folder. Go there. I've got a folder called Invitational B, and then my SRC, and there's my dryrun.java. This is the file you're going to submit into whether it be the web interface or the application interface. Okay, so now inside of Eclipse, a couple things I have to add, and I'm going to have this in every single one of my files. We're going to import java.util.star, and we're going to import java.io.star. All right. Now, on my main method, we have to add the keywords throws IO exception. There's the capital I, the capital O, the capital E. Let's see, I've got a I noticed that this underline's red, which means that I'm missing, this is actually wrong, java.io. Okay, and so now we're going to do the DryRun program. So for DryRun, if you're not familiar with that, basically you are, I'm going to open up the dat file here if I can. So the idea is you're reading this first number, it's telling you how many lines to follow, and then you're printing out something like I like, and then this word, and then this word, and this word. Now the purpose of the DryRun is for you to practice a couple of the things that are going to show up in other problems. One of those is using a scanner. Another one that you want to be familiar with is how to use this number to only loop a certain number of times. So there's a lot of ways to do DryRun, but you generally want to do it in a way that's going to be good practice or a good warm-up for the actual competition. That's how I'm going to approach this. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a scanner object, and so I say I've got a scanner. Now, a scanner comes from this util. It's actually java.util.scanner, but since we put this asterisk, that gets every library in util, so we don't need to say specific. But that's where scanner is coming from. So I'm going to say scanner. I'm just going to call it in equals new scanner, and it's going to be scanning a file. So I say new file, and then the name of the file. In this case, it's dryrun.dat. Now, where your program looks is in its top level directory. So it's looking in this invitational B directory. It does not look in the source folder. That's why it's so important your dat files be in that top level directory. Now, that's only true for Eclipse. If you're using something like Visual Studio Code or Notepad++, then keep in mind that it's going to be looking in whatever folder your Java file is saved. So that's something specifically for Eclipse or maybe other IDEs. I'm not 100% sure how things like that. Okay, so we got our in, and so I know that the first value is going to be an integer, so I'm going to say int n equals in dot next int. Okay. And so that's going to read in the integer. And just to demonstrate what's happening here, I'm going to go ahead and run my program. I'm going to do a print line, print in. So now if I compile and run this, hopefully I don't have any compile errors. 4. Cool. So now I want to read in 4 more things. Okay. Now this is a little tricky because there's 2 ways to read in strings. You can either do a next line or a next. I'm going to kind of demonstrate the difference here. I'm going to say while n minus minus is greater than 0. Now what this is doing is it's going to take the value of n, it's going to decrement it after it checks if it's greater than 0. So in other words, the first time n is 4, right? The next time n will be, so I'm going to go and show you what it does. So I'm going to just do a system.out.println n. And so I'm going to run that. And so we get 3, 2, 1, 0. All right, so notice the first time it prints, n is 3. The next time it prints, n is 2, 1, 0. So what happens here is this print gets called 4 times because n was 4. I particularly like this because it looks kind of like while n goes to 0, right? It looks kind of like an arrow. I don't know. It's kind of clever. I didn't come up with this, by the way, but again, that's kind of the idea. So while n is greater than 0, or n minus minus is greater than 0, we want to read in a string. So I'm going to say string word equals in dot next line. I'm going to do it this way. If you're familiar with DryRun, you may already know my problem I'm going to have, but I just want to demonstrate. So next line should read in the next line of text. So I'm just going to do a system.out.print. I'm going to use an f string because, again, one of the ideas for this DryRun is it's a good opportunity to kind of put some stuff in your code because you're allowed to have DryRun during the contest. So I'm going to put some stuff in my code here that maybe isn't 100% necessary, but I can reference it later if I need to. So most people are familiar with println, println, or print. Some people get confused by printf. So all printf is a way of printing things so that you can then plug in values. So I'm going to plug in a string. I'm going to say I like S. Okay. Now what %s means is I'm going to plug in a string. Now the variable for that string is word. Now this isn't exactly right. I know it's not right. Again, just going to demonstrate. So I'm going to run this. I like blank, I like cabbage, I like contest. So the first thing I notice is they're all in the one line. So printf doesn't have a new line at the end by default, so I have to put the \n. Now, I like cabbages, I like contests, I like judges. Now, if you recall from the dat file, we're actually missing the everything part of this. And that's because what's happening is when we say next line, it's reading the next new line character. What we don't see is that after this for, there's actually a \n. We can't see it. The editor doesn't show it, but it's there. So it's reading in the for, and then that first next line call is actually reading in that new line character. And so we're getting this blank right there. And then it's reading cabbages, contests, and judges. So there's two ways to handle this. One way is instead of reading in next line, we can just read in next. So that goes and finds the next thing. I'm going to that. And so now we get I like cabbage, I like contest, I like judge, I like everything. So this would be a viable solution. The other option is to do a next line and throw it away. So in.next line. Nope. That's not. Didn't want that. So this is going to throw away that new line. And then we can say next line here. And now we get that. So two different ways to solve the same problem. I don't really have a preference, although I think actually I kind of do. I tend to just do this. But it is good to know that that's how Nextint is actually working. So again, that's showing how to set up Eclipse. You want to get your dat files in that folder. So the next, let's say I want to do this. Let's say I'm going to solve Brianna next, whatever problem that was. I would right click on the invitational folder, go to new class, call it Brianna, and notice again capitalize B, make my main method finish, and notice that brand file is still there. It can reference this dat file. So I'm using this one project for the entire contest that I'm working in. This also makes it easier to save your project for later use. You can't have the project on your computer during the contest itself, but you could save this folder to a flash drive or something for use later to kind of continue working on the problems. I hope you found this video useful, and there should be some more to come shortly. Thank you.